It is the agenda for the 21st century you're living in today. For a brave new world where everything that you cherished and held true will no longer exist.
Haven't we sent a message yet to Putin?
We're sending a message.
The United States military will stop you, and we will beat you harder than you've ever been beaten before.
Russia's hacked into a lot of things. China's hacked into a lot of things. Russia even hacked into the Democratic National Committee. We will be ready with serious political, economic, and military responses.
The message we sent, he'll know it. And it'll be at the time of our choosing and under the circumstances that have the greatest impact.
Right now, Senator, for us to control all of the airspace in Syria would require us to go to war against Syria and Russia.
I think it would be great if we got along with Russia, because we could fight ISIS together, as an example.
We could slide into nuclear war very quickly from her declared policy in Syria. So I won't sleep well at night if Donald Trump is elected, but I sure won't sleep well at night if Hillary Clinton is elected.
Future high-end war between nation states of great powers, very highly lethal, unlike anything our Army has experienced, at least since World War II.
So a message is going to be sent. Will the public know it?
I hope not.
Now, Iraq's Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi has announced that the international coalition will start its operation to retake the country's second-largest city, Mosul, from Islamic State. Islamic State militants swept through cities and towns in southern parts of Iraq in 2014. However, Iraqi forces have since regained significant ground. Mosul is the last city that the jihadists hold major control of, and the push to retake Mosul will be the biggest military operation in Iraq since American troops left in 2011. If successful, it will arguably be one of the biggest achievements by coalition forces.
These fighters want to show who is in charge of Dabiq now. They lower and remove the ISIL flag soon after capturing the town. Commanders of the Free Syrian Army opposition fighters, who are backed by the Turkish government, say they are mopping up, clearing the town of landmines and bombs.
By the grace of God, the heroes of the Free Syrian Army have liberated this town. This is sweet revenge for all of us and for our brothers in the north. Dabiq is in our hands. We will follow them to Iraq.
The fall of Dabiq is a major blow to ISIL. It has focused on this dusty little town because of its symbolic value. ISIL says the town is where the final battle will be fought at the end of time. The group has been seeking to bring that battle there by goading its enemies to confront it there.
And inside Syria, Russian and government airstrikes continue to target rebel-held areas of Aleppo. Al Jazeera's Amr al-Halabi is on the ground in Aleppo and has the latest.
Dozens of Russian airstrikes targeted various rebel-held districts in East Aleppo. I'm standing right here in Al-Qatirji district, where the Russian warplanes dropped a bunker buster bomb that caused major devastation and destroyed several buildings in the area. You can see it here. The building was completely demolished by the bomb. Rescue workers are still trying their best to find survivors from under the rubble. The civil defense teams told us that dozens were killed and many are still missing, possibly under the rubble right there. 7 people were pulled earlier from the rubble, but many more are still there, feared dead. There are at least 10 families still under this rubble in this district alone. As you can see, the team is pulling out a dead body right there, and others are still looking for more. They're trying to listen and find out where the survivors could be. There's still fear that more airstrikes will take place throughout the night.
Solar storms happen all the time. Scientists say that they're like 1 million nuclear bombs exploding at the same time. Yes, they're that big. The problem is, no one knows exactly when the effects of one of those storms could strike the Earth. Extreme weather on Earth can cause major devastation, but scientists say it would pale in comparison to what a major solar storm could do.
If we get a direct hit here on planet Earth, it can cause our power grids to go down, it can damage our satellites.
Dr. Valerie Rapson at the Dudley Observatory at My Science Schenectady says, depending on the severity of the hit, it could even threaten life here on Earth. Here's how it could happen. Solar flares originate from explosions on the surface of the sun.
The explosions are very strong, and this high-energy radiation, like X-rays and gamma rays, they can be very dangerous.
Those rays travel through space. Earth has been hit a few times in history. The last big one was in the 1800s. But today, with technology so vital to our lives, a direct hit could be devastating.
Our biggest danger is really kind of frying the satellites or sending a power surge through our power grids and knocking out power for a majority of the country or even the world.
Rapson says back in 2015, scientists and government officials felt it was important to prepare the power grids, the satellites, and everything in between in a way that flares would not cause any damage. She says the president's executive order today was a push for action.
To get astronomers together and to help provide funding for solar telescopes and things that we can use to start to predict these flares and prepare for them.
For now, Rapson says scientists know the sun has an 11-year flare cycle called solar max and solar minimum. The last solar max was in 2011. And if you go with the 2011 date, 2022 would be the next solar maximum. And Dr. Rapson says that's probably the greatest upcoming threat. However, she says it can happen at any time. They just don't know.
Straight out of science fiction and off the silver screen, the U.S. Army has nearly completed construction of a new type of wearable armor. Based off the comic book hero Iron Man, the Tactical Assault Light Operator Suit, or TALOS, will be ready for testing this summer. At a recent military conference, Navy Admiral William McRaven said that suit, if done correctly, will yield a revolutionary improvement in survivability and capability for special operators. The first 3 suits will not be electrically powered like those worn by the character Tony Stark and won't fly, but the suits are outfitted with high-tech options. Liquid armor is slated to be part of the defense mechanism for the new suit, and this substance normally acts like a liquid but instantly hardens when hit by a bullet. The suits will constantly monitor the vital signs of the soldier wearing it, and if soldiers are cold, the suit will be able to provide heat, and it's designed to evenly distribute weight, allowing soldiers to carry more equipment. The next generation of these suits can even cure wounds by spraying them with medical foam. The name Talos comes from the ancient Greek myth of a man dressed in bronze armor who protected the goddess Europa. One day soon, this suit could be worn by soldiers on the battlefield paired with a device like Google Glass, allowing soldiers to keep in constant contact with their commanders. Designed by the Army in conjunction with dozens of corporations and government agencies, military leaders are anxious to get their soldiers wearing these suits, even if the technology is not yet perfected. Jim Tinsley from the defense consultant Avascent said, "We'll try to adopt some of the more realistic things first, like integrating power supplies into the suit to reduce the need for mobile batteries. Some of these more futuristic things may be pushed off to the side." While this isn't exactly Tony Stark's Iron Man suit, this is certainly the beginning of a new generation of warfare technology.
John John Schultz lives less than a mile down the road from Mosaic's Plant City facility. His family depends on well water. We caught him off guard when we told him about the spill.
I have no idea. Like, it's crazy. I'm just now hearing about this.
However, in a written fact sheet, Mosaic tells us there's no potential health risk to anyone. They say a pump failed, spilling what's called processed water.
Honestly, I don't know what that really means.
It's non-drinkable water, a 2% phosphoric acid solution, typically used in plants. The company cleaned it up and say there's no impact outside their gates. Despite hearing this, neighbors not set at ease, immediately thinking of Mosaic's other problem, about 12 miles away in Polk County.
And then they have another problem. This just keeps problems, then it makes people concerned.
These spook neighbors say it's all too close for comfort, too close to their homes, and too close in time from the sinkhole to this spill. They insist Mosaic should have let them know there was a problem.
Why are we not notified? Like, since it happened so close.
Mosaic followed the law. An emergency rule requires them to notify the media and Florida's Department of Environmental Protection of any pollution incidents. A new law prompted by the sinkhole problem.
Three Kansas men are facing domestic terrorism charges after allegedly planning to bomb an apartment complex that's home to more than 100 Somali refugees. The men were arrested Friday with a stockpile of firearms and ammunition. Officials say they plan to carry out the attack on the complex, which also houses a mosque, the day after the election to, quote, wake people up. The foiled plot highlights a troubling trend in the US. The rate of attacks on mosques is increasing. Last year saw a record number of attacks. 34 were targeted in November and December alone. There's a lot of speculation about what fueled that spike. Many say the rise could be due to possible retaliations for attacks carried out by alleged terror group supporters. Islamophobic hate crimes reportedly tripled following the Paris attacks last November. There was also a spike after the San Bernardino shooting the following month. But others have suggested that anti-Muslim rhetoric surrounding the 2016 election cycle has something to do with it. The acceptance of refugees has been a bone of contention among both political leaders and members of the public. Some have proposed an all-out ban on allowing followers of Islam into the US. And neither of the two major presidential candidates have really laid out plans to fight the growing rate of Islamophobia. As it stands, 2016 has seen the second highest number of mosque attacks on record. There have been over 50 incidents targeting mosques so far this year.
A new synthetic drug that's hit our shores is said to be worse than ice. Flak is cheap and marketed to young people, but experts say it's deadly.
It's the designer drug causing bizarre and dangerous behaviour. Flak has been blamed for several deaths in the US. Now it's been detected in Australia.
It will be appearing on the streets, it'll be appearing in schools, it'll be appearing in workplaces.
It's targeted at young people who are used as guinea pigs.
They are marketed often as herbal highs or legal highs, which of course they're not, they're completely synthetic.
There's no certainty about exactly what you're taking.
And it's dirt cheap.
It's about $15 is the price, you know, and people say, look, it's cheaper than a carton of beer.
Also known as gravel, flak is a type of NPS, a novel psychoactive substance. The drugs are being increasingly produced, and it has the medical and scientific communities worried.
I wouldn't recommend that anyone goes near it unless they want to turn themselves into some sort of lab experiment.
I'm not sure, from a scientific point of view, how we can keep up with a deluge of 2 or 3 new drugs every week.
Last year, a woman on one of these drugs was taken to emergency after bizarre behaviour at a city nightclub. She'd been compulsively licking the dance floor, so much so, it shredded her tongue.
It is a vast, uncontrolled experiment on the young people of Australia.
It is extremely lethal. In fact, it's been dubbed the scariest kind of drug there is.
Hurry! No!
People buy guns to protect what's most precious to them. At a rate of every other day, however, these weapons do the very opposite.
Stay with me, Holston. Can you hear me? Daddy loves you.
Maiming or even killing children, like 3-year-old Holston Cole of Dallas, Georgia.
How did he get a hold of the gun?
It was in my book bag.
Bright and curious, the qualities that made Holston a kid also made him a victim when he saw his father's pistol one morning in April of this year. In a country with more than 30,000 gun deaths a year, the number of minors who die in an accidental shooting is relatively small, just 320 between 2014 and June of this year. That's according to a new investigation by the Associated Press and USA Today. But these figures expose an undercount in federal data, and they confirm some dark facts about our youngest and littlest victims. Most die at home with a legally owned handgun. And among the most common shooters and victims, 3-year-olds, too young to even spell gun. Plus kids in their middle teens, just trying to show off.
We go to France now, where violence broke out at the makeshift Calais camp known as the Jungle late on Saturday. French police and migrants clashed for several hours. Police used water cannons, tear gas and rubber bullets against the migrants, while the migrants reciprocated by throwing rocks and tear gas shells back. Crowds of people gathered at the edge of the camp. The fighting calmed by midnight with no known casualties.
According to organizers, up to 5,000 people took part at various associations, environmental groups, labor unions, and political opposition parties are calling themselves the Stop TAFTA Collective. And protesters said the agreement would deteriorate democracy, harm agriculture and public services, lower food safety along with the environmental, labor and health standards, while allowing big businesses to challenge governments across Europe. And CETA supporters say the deal will increase trade in goods and services by more than 20% and EU economic output by about 12 billion euros per year. It will be the EU's first with a G7 nation. And EU trade ministers will vote on Tuesday. The deal requires unanimous support to enter force.
3 police officers have been killed and at least 9 wounded after a suicide bomber detonated a bomb in the southern Turkish city of Gaziantep. Police were raiding a suspected Islamic State safe house on Sunday when the bomb went off, and a second suicide bomber detonated explosives during another police raid related to the same investigation in the city's Gaziantep suburb, and no other people were killed. Security sources said the police pursued a vehicle believed to be carrying explosives to the house where a group of Syrian nationals were thought to be sheltering before raiding it.
Ran Deming is preparing to move into his new house. It's difficult to pick something valuable out from all his belongings. This adobe house was built by his great-grandfather more than 100 years ago. It's been home to his parents, wife, and 2 daughters.
It was scary to live inside this house before. It's unsafe and inconvenient. It's difficult to raise animals here, and it's difficult to get clean drinking water. By moving into the new building, we can get access to better traffic, a better living environment, medical services, and education. The difference is beyond comparison.
Ran's wife and older daughter are suffering from mental illnesses. Associated medical costs and his younger daughter's tuition fees have been placing a major strain on his finances. So this move into a new home is indeed welcome, especially as it's being provided through the program. It's a 2-story building with 4 bedrooms.
I feel so happy to move into this new house. My eyes lit up when I caught sight of this building upon completion. I am excited.
Back at his new house, Ran carefully tends to his vegetables. A local company has promised to buy his harvest at a price higher than the market. The county where Ran lives has pledged to relocate more than 50,000 people in the next 3 years. But officials say not everyone is satisfied with the plan, citing a reluctance to leave their current holdings. So getting everyone to realize the potential of the program may be one of its greatest challenges. 孟庆生 CCTV 南江 Sichuan Province.
Tensions over this heated election season reached a boiling point in North Carolina. Somebody threw a firebomb through a window at a state Republican Party office. North Carolina's governor is calling it an attack on our democracy.
Police are calling it a suspected firebombing. It looks like a bottle of a flammable material was thrown through a window at the GOP offices. A neighboring building was also vandalized with explicit language. Republican leaders calling it a horrific attack of political terrorism.
The Republican Party there saying an explosive device was thrown through a window of the office. while on the side, someone spray painted the words, "Nazi Republicans leave town or else."
Breaking news, Republican Party headquarters is firebombed and an adjacent building is daubed with Nazi graffiti in North Carolina. So this is outside of Charlotte in Orange County, saying in Hillsborough. Here's the sign here. It says, Nazi Republicans leave town or else.
Words cannot describe the emotions you feel when you see something like this today. There's a sign there that says freedom speaks. And that is where a significant Molotov cocktail, bomb, some sort of device went in. This is a horrific act of political terrorism. One that we will not succumb to, and one that we will answer. We know that the attack occurred sometime in the overnight hours. And let me be clear, the Orange County Republican Party and all of the North Carolina Republican Party will be open for business and doing the business of a political party tomorrow morning. We will not be scared. We will not be frightened.
Brian Wheatley has an axe to grind. For 6 months, he's been living with his girlfriend at Ferry Vista Apartments in West Palm Beach, where they proudly displayed Old Glory on their balcony.
My dad was in the Army, and my grandfather fought for this country, and I've lost a lot of really close friends for that flag right there.
His passion for the Stars and Stripes took him to the front office after the management company nearly brought him to tears. The flag is in violation of the rental agreement, which clearly states all balconies must be uniform. Therefore, it must come down.
They said that the consequences are if we don't take it down within so many days, I forget what it was, that they're going to fine us first. And after they fine us, if we don't take it down after that, they're going to give us a 6-day eviction notice.
The story seemed like a closed case until we opened the door to the office of Mark Schneider, president of the Palm Beach County chapter of the ACLU.
Florida statute says that even renters should be able to display a flag that's less than 4.5 feet by 6 feet on their rental units.
He dug into state laws, which in this case may override that rental agreement. Furthermore, Schneider says he's not aware that balconies could restrict it either.
Me and her both are going to fight this.
Wheatley's pride is on the line, and he intends to stand with his conscience in hopes of raising a larger discussion.
This is unjust, and it's happening all over the United States.
United Church of Canada has among its clergy a minister who is a self-proclaimed atheist. I repeat, a minister who is now an atheist. Therefore, the church is moving for her defrocking. They are recommending that she be defrocked. This minister goes by the name of Greta Vosper, and she says that she does not believe in the God called God, capital G-O-D. She says that using that word gets in the way of sharing what she wants to share. She believes that the Bible is mythology and denies that Jesus is the Son of God.